Emily Watson, one thing I love about your career is that you move back and forth between good film projects and good television projects. What attracted you most to Genius?
Well, I got a call from my agent saying, Ron Howard would like to talk to you about this project they're doing about Einstein. I was like, yes, please. And the fact that it was Geoffrey, I've played Geoffrey's wife 2 times before this, so this is my 3rd time as Geoffrey's wife. Just such a great team of people. And I only read the script for episode 1 before I signed up, but I then read the book, which is very, very thick, very, very, very impressive, full of a lot of mathematics. But discovered the story of this incredible relationship, which is, obviously only a small part of Einstein's life, but very pivotal woman in his whole story.
What does Geoffrey Rush do that others don't? Why are you two such a good fit together?
I think Geoffrey, is possibly the only actor I've ever worked with who carries on working on the scene when you've finished. He's always working at it. He's always teasing more out of it, trying to get the very essence, the real juice, trying to find more, looking for details, doubting himself, changing things. And that's a really lovely collaborative thing to be part of, always asking me questions. Do you think we should do this? Do you think we should do that? I'm much quieter generally. I'm sort of just, I don't, and occasionally I'm, Geoffrey, stop, shut up. But no, I think we have a very good shorthand together. And he's just, it's a privilege to watch.
It's funny you say that. I interviewed Alan Alda a few months ago. One thing we were talking about was MASH, and he said early on, before they realized they were costing the production time, he and Wayne Rogers would keep working on a scene after it was shot. And one day the producer came over and said, you're never going to shoot that scene again. You don't have to get it perfect in your own mind.
Right. Yeah.
What about, did you know much about Albert Einstein before you started working on this?
No, not really. I knew the kind of generic stuff that everybody knows, E = mc² and the hair. And I found that all the stuff about young Einstein so fascinating, that as a young man, he rejected all the structures by which we live. He rejected religion. He rejected militarism. He rejected nationhood. He surrendered his passport, and it kind of just cleared a path so that he could think clearly. He didn't have anybody telling him how to think. He had the most powerful curiosity and imagination that a child could have, or a young man could have. And I think for a human being to be born with it's the opposite of the instinct that most people have, which is to surround themselves with security and boundaries. And I thought that was amazing. And then obviously his relationships, we don't know about those, but his first wife was a brilliant mathematician and physicist in her own right, possibly better than him. They started a relationship. She became pregnant, and she descended into a sort of spiral of depression and domesticity, and their relationship became really toxic. And as that happened, they had 2 sons together. He then, when he couldn't cope with that anymore, left with Elsa, who I play, who was his first cousin, which is a bit weird.
Well, I knew she was a cousin, but I didn't know it was a first cousin. That is strange.
So as they grow older, the 2 of them, they start to really look like each other. They're, in a way, they're like brother and sister. They're always at loggerheads, but really tight, really close, really a team. She's very much his, in a way, she was his manager. She gave him the space to be Albert Einstein and protected his he became a celebrity when celebrity wasn't really a thing. And she knew how to look after that. But she also allowed him to have many affairs.
Well, did you find much on her, like research, in terms of research or film footage or anything like that?
There's quite a few images, and there's a little bit of footage, but Walter Isaacson's book is very full in its exploration of all the different parts of the life. But in a way, easier for me because she's not as known as he is. I could bring bring to her more of just my imaginative, creative exploration of what I was on the page. Whereas Geoffrey, so much to live up to, an incredibly creative makeup artist who, ages him through decades. And he really does look like Einstein, doesn't he? I mean, it is.
Yeah, the first time I saw a photo in the press materials months ago, I thought, wow, this is right on target here.
Right, yeah.
Really as an actress, as you looked at the script, you read the book, you must have been just thrilled to know that you're going to be in a project that it's dramatic, but it's got humor. It touches on science and politics and religion. So many different areas you get to explore.
I think that's something that's great about the format, that there's 10 episodes and that his life didn't follow a kind of one linear trajectory as you get in a movie. There were a lot of kind of blind alleys in different areas, but that he, in a way, he's a cipher for 20th century history. And he goes through, he escapes anti-Semitism and the rise of the Nazis, and they leave Berlin and he goes to America, and then he's involved in the development of the atomic bomb. And it's just, he's everywhere you look, he's kind of there. And I think his outlook on life, which made him the scientist that he was, that made his mind so far-reaching, also made him a philosopher. But then within all that, there were these terrible blind spots. He had awful relationships with his children and with his ex-wife, and could be very cruel and, for a man who saw humanity so clearly, he could be lacking in empathy.
And what was it like for you working with Ron Howard and his team?
It was just so exciting to be part of it. It's when you work with somebody like him, you know that every decision he makes, everything that you're doing, everything that is happening on the set is all absolutely serving the story that you are telling in a really muscular way. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And that's just very relaxing to be around. You really feel you can give yourself to the story in that way.
I'd love to ask you a couple of career questions, if you don't mind. You're a 2-time Oscar nominee. What was the first time like in terms of getting the news that you were a nominee?
It felt really unreal. It felt like one of those moments where everything goes into slow motion. I'd not long been in the business. It was the first film I'd ever done. I'd never done any press. It was that process of doing press for that movie was the first I'd had any contact with this world at all. I was very, very naive. So it was all quite overwhelming, I think, at first.
And the second time, did it feel different? Did you react differently?
Yes, I was slightly more cynical about it, I think, the second time. I think I had more of an understanding of the system of how it all works and, how much money people spend and all of that stuff. But yeah, even so, it is such a tremendous honor to be considered by your peers in that way. It really is. It's an amazing experience.
And do you like the process of voting each year?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I love to that's one of the great privileges, is that you get to see all the movies and you get to see what everybody's doing. And I really try not to just go with the crowd and really make choices that I believe are right.
Well, I've asked that of quite a few Oscar Academy members over the years. I always am fascinated to know, and you don't have to give specific names if you don't want to, but just when you're watching stuff and you're trying to, do your nominations, do your final voting, what goes through Emily Watson's mind, and what types of performances really grab you?
It's difficult in a way because it's always the showy performances that get the attention. But as an actor, the ones that you appreciate are often the ones where it's so good that you don't notice, I think. So, that's a difficult call to make. But I find usually if something's really, really moved me, I find that I think it's very, very, very genuine. Because, you know, when you're an actor, you can see people's tricks. You can see when they're kind of, it's not real. When it really feels real, then it's very, very powerful.
Something that maybe stays with you a few days even after. That might be the type that you look for.
Yeah, and the film that is really about something and that is really making you think, and not just being kind of for its own sake, I guess.
Well, people are about to start watching Genius on Nat Geo. Where will we see you after that?
Well, I've just done a TV series called Apple Tree Yard. I don't know if, I'm not sure actually when that's coming here to the US. That was a BBC drama. That was quite a lot of racy grown-up carry-on in London. And I've done a part in Rupert Everett's film about Oscar Wilde, which will be later this year.
People have been looking forward to that one for a while. I think he's been talking about that for a long time.
No, I think it's going to be amazing, actually. I think it's really good.
Well, this is really good, too. I've already watched, I think, the first 3.
You've seen what I have. Oh.
Well, we saw the first one at Fox Studios weeks and weeks ago, and that one you and Geoffrey are in, and then it goes back to Johnny for a while. And then I'm assuming, from what I've heard, it comes back to the 2 of you. So
yeah, we come back in around 6 or 7.
Well, it is fascinating to watch and very, very, very fun to watch as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.